I want to tell you about the year I finally picked up the telephone, at 88 years old, and admitted something I had been dodging for a decade. My friendships were dying, and it was not the world that was killing them. It was me, my own neglect, my own quiet pride, sitting there by the window, waiting to be wanted. There were 5 things that brought my friendships back to life. 5 small mendings I made with my own 2 hands, one at a time, over one long season. I wrote each one down on the back of an old seed catalog, and when I finished, I did not feel ashamed, and I did not feel proud. I felt honest, maybe for the first time in years. Stay with me, and I will give you all 5.ng about my friends. I never stopped, not for one day. I am not telling you they turned their backs on me either, because they did not. That would be the easy story, and the easy story is a lie. What happened was slower and quieter than any argument. I simply stopped showing up, and I dressed that failure in a dignified coat and called it patience. Have you ever waited so politely for so long that the waiting itself became the whole friendship? Then the next Tuesday, and the next, until the not doing had piled up higher than the doing ever had. An argument, she told me, at least means 2 people are still standing in the same room. Silence means nobody is. I carried that saying in my pocket for 60 years, the way you carry a key you never try in the door. Then one winter I looked at the rows of names in my old address book, and I saw how many of those doors I had never opened, and how few were left that still could be. That is when I began the mending, itself up as patience, and I wore it every day. Then one gray morning I thought of Walter. We had fished the same creek for 40 years, and before I could talk myself out of it, I dialed. My hand shook. Me back to me then. Friendships do not die in arguments. They die in unremarked Tuesdays. I had lost more friends to Tuesdays than to any fight I ever had. Think of it this way. A trail unwalked does not stay a trail. The grass takes it back inch by inch, so slowly you never see it moving, until one spring you go to walk it, and there is no trail at all, only meadow where a path used to be. So I changed 2 small habits. I answer now the day a letter comes, even badly. A crooked, honest answer beats a perfect one that never exists. And when the small, hard thing appears between me and another soul, I say it while it is still small, while it can still be mended with a sentence instead of a shovel. Is there a trail in your own life right now that the grass is quietly taking back? Is there a letter sitting on the corner of your own desk, getting heavier by the month? No news. He brought no gift. He sat down in the same chair, and the 2 of them drank 2 cups of coffee that went cold from talking, and when people asked him why he went week after week when there was nothing to say, he said, "That is exactly why I go. Anybody can come when there is news. Somebody has to come when there is not." I thought him a strange old bird when I was young. I understand him now with my whole heart. When did we decide that love needs an appointment? The river does not visit its stones on holidays. It stays in its banks and runs, every day, in flood and in drought. And that steady running is what shapes the stone, not the one great storm. Friendship is not the festival, it is the water. So now I go on the plain days. I show up on the Thursday with nothing in my hands, and I will tell you something that surprised me. The plain days have become the best ones. The birthday visits spring when the driving was good. I intended it in fall when the hills turned. How many seasons can a man intend a thing before he has to admit he is never going to do it? I had a whole shelf of good intentions because intention is a comfortable chair. You can sit in it for a decade and call it travel. Then came a season when I lost 2 men I loved within one winter, both of them people I had fully intended to go and see. And I stood by the window with the telephone in my hand and understood something that put a chill through me. The road does not announce when it is closing. Roads close quietly, the way trails disappear, and one day the intention is still sitting there in its chair, but there is nowhere left for it to go. Is there a road in your own life that you keep meaning to drive? That morning I stopped waiting for a better reason. I got in the car and I drove the 4 hours north. No occasion, no perfect timing. My cousin came out onto his porch, squinting at the dust my car raised, and when he saw who it was, he did not ask why I had come. He just went back inside and put the coffee on, and we sat and watched the weather come over the hills. And I cannot tell you one important thing we said, because nothing important needed saying. Presence did the talking. My grandfather said it best, and I will leave his words with you the way he left them with me. He said friendship is not a thing you keep, it is a thing you do. Like a garden, it feeds the one who shows up with water. The road remembers feet, not plans. Tars. Naming these 5 confessions was not the same as hating myself for them. Do you see the difference? I did not write that list on the seed catalog to beat myself with it. I wrote it the way a man walks his fence line after a long winter, not to curse the posts that fell, but to find them, because a post you have found can be set back in the ground. Every one of these 5 had a door in it, and a door only ever means one thing: you can walk back through. I was not a bad friend all those years. I was a sleeping one. And sleeping is not dying, though from the outside they can look the same. Have you ever mistaken a sleeping field for a barren one? The friendships I feared were buried turned out to be only waiting, roots under winter ground, and the first warm rain of attention. One phone call, one plain visit, one spoken sentence, and green things came up where I would have sworn the field was barren. That is what I want you to carry out of this, not guilt. What has guilt ever planted? Guilt is just another way of sitting still. Carry the knowledge that it was never too far gone, not once, not even at 88G, because the dead cannot smell them. And make the visit while the road is still open, because the road remembers feet, not plans. Now let me turn it toward you, gently. Is there a name in your heart right now? A name that rose up uninvited while I was talking? Whose face came to you when I spoke of unremarked Tuesdays? What trail of yours is the grass taking back this very summer? Eat. Would you count the missing years, or would you put the coffee on? They have not forgotten you. More often than not, they are sitting by their own window, telling themselves the same polite lie you told yourself, waiting to be wanted. Be the one who ends the waiting. They are waiting. Who could you sit with this week for no reason at all? Whose porch is waiting for your ordinary Thursday, and only one of them feeds anybody? A feeling you never speak is a meal you cook and never serve. There was a woman we called Grandmother Weaver, and every single year, without fail, she sat down with her sister and told her plainly what that sister meant to her. Not at a funeral, not at a sickbed. On an ordinary day, to her face, while her ears could still carry the words all the way to her heart. People teased her about it, called it sentimental, and she would only laugh and say she was bringing flowers for the living because the dead cannot smell them. Why do we save the best words for the ones who can no longer hear them? I have stood at too many gravesides now, holding words I could have handed over warm years earlier to a living face. So I changed it. When I finally did the same, when I looked at Walter across his own kitchen table and said the plain words, that his friendship had been one of the great gifts of my whole life, this strong old man, who had weathered drought and war and the loss of his wife without a crack, looked down at his hands and could not speak. It cost me one hard breath. It bought us both a richness I cannot describe. A seed kept in the pocket feeds no one. Say the words while they can still be heard. Who in your life is waiting to hear one sentence you have been carrying around unspoken for years? And that voice answered like no time had passed at all, like I had seen him yesterday. We talked 2 hours about nothing, and it was the best nothing of my whole year. Why did I wait 10 years for 2 hours of nothing? My grandfather would have said it plain. A fire does not care which side adds the wood first. It only knows it goes out when nobody does. Somebody has to put on the first log. Let it be you. 5 mendings down, and others like them. In a small book I wrote called The Native Way. If your heart wants it, the link in the description below will take you there. Read one and sit with it overnight. No pressure at all. I am always right here whether you open it or not. This fire does not charge admission. I wrote it because I knew myself, and I knew that if I did not set these things down, I would let the grass take the trail again, the way I always had. Now let me give you the second confession, because this one cost me the most years. Mine, a good letter, full of his grandchildren and his garden, and I set it on the corner of my desk and thought, I will answer that properly this weekend. The weekend filled up. The next one did too. After a month, answering felt awkward. What would I say about the delay? After 6 months, it felt strange. After 2 years, the letter itself had become a small reproach I kept moving from pile to pile, and the friendship had gone quiet without either of us deciding anything at all. And it was not only letters. There was a small slight once, a careless word at a gathering that I never spoke of, and neither did he, and it hardened between us into a wall neither of us remembered building. A month of quiet became a season, and the season somehow became 5 years. My grandmother's words, K.